What is good, you guys? It's Lifestyle from lifestylethatdid.com, and in today's video we're going to be mixing a beat from scratch. Let's get into it. All right, so today we're going to focus on mixing a trap beat, and I'm going to show you guys the beat first. As you can see straight off the top, I have everything nice and named and colored. So I have all my melodies blue, then I have drums, well, the clap and the snares are all linked to one, so it's kind of an orange, and then I always have my low end red, and then you see I have like percussion, hi-hat and stuff yellow. So it just makes it easy to be able to reach for things and know where everything is, or if I want to turn down all the melodies together, you know, I could just grab them by holding control, dragging over, and I can grab them all at once and really know where everything's at. So it makes it nice and easy. So like I said, everything's named, linked in here, and we have our normal level of the beat. So I'm going to play it as it is. So the number one thing you want to notice is already we are not clipping. We have a bit of headroom, right? So we're good. If you want to solo things and look around, we can go over to the drums. See, our kick is peaking. Let's see. About -12, our 808's probably around that area too. So we have quite a bit of headroom, which is really good. So the first thing that you need to do is make sure you have headroom. So go into the channel rack and adjust your volumes in here until you have a nice amount of headroom, right? Because we don't want to go straight into the mix with it looking something like this. And we'd be clipping and it's just not going to sound good. There is a bit of distortion on this from the beat itself on the 808, so you don't have to worry about that. That was just as I was creating the beat, I went ahead and added that in there. So let's bring these back to where we have some headroom, and then we'll start to get a mix of the beat. All right, so the first thing I want to do before I actually go and get any level set is I want to just throw an EQ on so we can mix into an EQ, and I want to take everything under 20 hertz out. And then I want to mix into a tiny bit of saturation. So I'm actually going to get decapitator. I'm going to leave it on its normal setting and just kind of bump this up. I just want to have it running through a tiny bit of saturation. Nothing crazy because I don't want it to affect the mix too much. And the reason I'm mixing into it and not putting it on after is so I can hear what I'm doing with it on in the beginning instead of throwing it on at the end and it completely changes the mix and I, end up not liking it. So I want to kind of mix into a bit of saturation. So the first thing we're going to actually do is let the beat play, and then we're going to go around and just get levels. So we're going to level everything out and get a basic level of the mix, and that's what we need to do to get a good mix, right? 90% of the mix is just leveling. So let's go ahead and just start messing with our faders. First thing I'm going to actually do is throw my kick and 808 in mono, and then which they're already mono sources, but it's a good rule of thumb to do anyway. So let's go ahead and get a nice mix going. So I want my kick and 808 to really be the forefront of this mix. So I'm actually going to go into the channel rack and turn the kick up a tiny bit so we can have more. So like I said, this is just getting the static mix at first. I could just turn it up here, but I like to keep, I like to lower volumes on the mixer track and not go above 0 by raising it up. It's just habit. I can turn it up there, but I would rather just go over here and turn up all of my layers as 1 and then be able to turn it down. I honestly could have just went like this if I wanted to, but it's a habit of mine. I like to either keep it at 0 or a negative number. Let's go back to where that guitar comes in. So let's go ahead and throw the whole mix in mono. Okay, that's sounding good. So that's a good level, but there's a lot of clashing going on with these instruments, right? Especially in mono, we can hear it. So now we're going to start cleaning that up. So we're going to keep it in mono, and I'm actually going to start doing some EQ processing. So we have a nice mix going so far with just our levels, which is great. First thing I'm going to focus on is freeing up some of this muddiness that we're getting from all these clashing, and then we're going to go ahead and focus in on mixing our kick and 808 a bit. I'm going to show you some cool tricks with that. So let's start off with these keys, right? And then we have this reverse. Let you hear them so you can hear what's really going on. This pad is really what's kind of merging everything. It's very low end heavy, which is good, but with that 808, it's not going to work well. So I'm actually going to play the whole beat. I'm going to start with the keys and kind of start cleaning things up. And we're still going to be in mono so we can hear everything clashing even more, which will help train our ears to really get better at cleaning up with EQ. The other great thing about mixing and hearing everything together is you can actually take out like a lot of low end from instruments, because while it's playing together, it's not necessarily going to sound thin until you over exaggerate it. But if you were to solo it and start to do this, you hear it a lot quicker, right? But that doesn't matter what it sounds like in solo, because if it's always playing with these pads and everything else, then it just really matters what it sounds like when they're together. So let's solo the pads and the guitar and everything and get this cleaned up. So this pad, I'm gonna let the 808 take that low end. I'm actually gonna add some saturation onto this pad. So let's go over here and get the Kramer tape. All right, and there's a lot of this 500, 600 muddiness, boxiness in these keys that I want to take out. So like I said, just use your ears. It's always about using your ears. The best thing to do to train your ears is literally take an EQ and boost it up, and then close your eyes and go hunting until you hear the nasty frequencies, and then cut them out. So let's go ahead and try that. So it's in here. I don't like this area, and that's about the 500-600 range. So let's go ahead and cut this area out. And the more you mix, the more you'll really kind of start to learn where these ranges are. My eyes were closed and I was still able to tell you it was around that 500-600 range, because when you mix for so long and you do tricks like that, you'll start to hear these frequency buildups in a lot of instruments. You'll start to find out that that low mid 500 range can get a lot of that boxiness in a lot of instruments actually. So it's really about just training your ear. But I actually think I'm going to bring it up a bit higher, because what I'm not liking is in that 600 range. So let's go ahead and cut that out. Let's bring some brightness to it. You're going to see this as a ginormous boost, but if it sounds good, then I want to go ahead and keep it. And then let's bring this out down a little bit since, you know, we boosted so much. So let's go into these reverse keys. We'll bring in some hi-hats and claps to keep this kind of fun, so we're not just listening to these instruments. I'm gonna just do a low shelf. It's quick. I don't need anything for this reverse. Get a little bit of that 600 out. Okay, so we don't need this top end. It's not really in this pad. Cool, that's sounding good so far. Let's go ahead and flip it back. So let's solo these real quick and then flip this back to stereo. See what's sounding like now. It's a lot better. Let's try before and after. Muddy. Turn it all on. Way more open. So nice. Let's go ahead and throw a reverb on this lead. So what I'm going to do is actually turn the wet knob all the way up so I can sync it. Sounding good. Let's cut out some low end. Okay, so now I can bring the dry back in and blend the wet in. Cool, and then I'm going to add S1 to it, and I'm going to widen it out a little bit. Nice and wide. For this pad, I actually want to get this very saturated. And let's bring it up so we can actually hear it. So let's bring the pad up. All right, that's sounding nice. So let's link those together, and let's bring the rest of the mix back in now. And let's go over here and get this guitar moving. So the guitar is just an accent. I don't want too much low end in it. All I'm going to do for the guitar is really cut out some low end, and I'm going to add a nice big delay to it. So let's go with like a quarter note with a big feedback and no low end. Now let's hear what this sounds like. And let's add a reverb to it. Cool, it's sounding good. I want more delay on it actually. So that sounds good. Now let's go over and mess with our drums. So I'm gonna just solo the drums for right now so we can really focus in on these. Start it back from the beginning. That perk definitely needs some low end cut. That's all it needs. So I'm gonna just cut out some of that low end and widen this out. Tuck it back. For this kick, what I want to do is actually just add G clip to it, nothing crazy. So let's go over to effects, add G clip, and I want to just soft clip this a tiny bit. So let's press play. Let's bring this up so we can see. Bring clip down right to where it is so it can keep the same level. Bring up our roundness and just push this in. All right, I want it to be a bit more soft. Let's see. Just push it by like 2 dB, nothing crazy. All right. And then I wanted to control that 808 a tiny bit, so I'm actually just gonna put L1 on it, limiter, and I'm just gonna control the peaks a little bit. So let's see, we're peaking around 0.8, and then it's varying down, so. Now we have a nice controlled 808. And then I'm just gonna set up a quick sidechain so it can duck out every time that hits, but only on a specific frequency. So let's get peak controller, and let's go to the 808 now and put an EQ on it. This kick hits around 50 to 60 hertz. It's the rack kick, so I believe its frequency is around 50. So let's go to this and create, link to controller. Let's do peak and inverted. And then this needs to be 0.5, like that, cool. And now together we can go over to the kick and we could bring up the EQ and control this. So I want the tension to be a little bit light, and then the volume I want extreme so I could adjust the decay, and then I'll move volume off. So I'm just using my ears. Cool, and now let's bring the volume down so it just moves maybe like 4 dB, 4 dB. Nothing crazy. And then we need to actually, I didn't even pay attention, this moved. We need to bring it back over to that 50 area. Let's actually go down a little bit more. Cool, those are sounding good. Hi-hat's nice. I don't think the hi-hat needs too much. Let's put it back in mono. Let's bring in these keys. These definitely need to get turned down now. They're a little bit too loud. Let's bring this kick up in volume a little bit. And then for the clap, I just want to add a little bit of high end. It sounds good because I layered it with a few different claps and snares. So let's just take out anything under about 70 and let's go boost a little bit of top end. Get that bite that's around 5 to 7K. That sounds nice. I want this to be crispy. So let's actually take out a bit since we boosted a bit. All right, let's go back over to this guitar. I want to take out a little bit of high end from it actually. I kind of want to just have it tucked in the back. So let's go ahead and listen back to that. Let me see. I don't think I want it to stand out in the mix. I think I want it to be tucked. and get more reverb on it. Yeah, that sounds a lot better. So that was more of like a style choice. As far as the beat, since I produced the beat, you know, you could choose what you want to stand out. I kind of wanted to tuck that back. So more of a producer choice on that part, not engineering. But we did some engineering tricks, obviously, to get it to be pushed back in the mix. So now let's go ahead and listen to it. I'm going to turn my headphones. Well, actually, since I'm doing a video, me turning my headphones down won't turn down the volume and show you the trick I'm going to do. So what I'm going to do is just take this volume knob here, so it's going to get very quiet, and I'm going to start to bring it back in until I start to kind of hear what comes in first, and it's going to give me an idea of, you know, how leveled the mix is. Let's try it again. Try to do it real slow. One more time. So the clap's a tiny bit loud, but it sounds pretty leveled. I do want my kick and 808 to be louder. Cool, so let's flip this back in stereo now, and it's gonna sound huge. I like to mix my claps loud, but let's turn it down a little bit. The guitar. So now we have the choice of limiting the master or clipping for the master to get our volume. For this, I want to use a soft clipper because I really want to keep that kick nice and punchy. So let's go over, get the soft clipper, turn post down to about 79% so we don't go over 0. I talked about this on Twitter and in a few videos. If you actually check with True Peak and you leave it at standard, you are going to go over 0 most of the time. So I turn it down to about 79%, and I'll show you after. So we have our soft clipper on. Let's go ahead and move it down. And then I'm just going to bring in anything to boost volume into it. So I'll just grab an EQ, and I'm going to push my volume into the soft clipper. Just like a limiter, we would pull our threshold down. I like to do this so I can always have a full visual and control. So we're literally only going to use this volume knob. So any plugin or gain plugin or trim plugin you can use to push volume. So let's go ahead and push into the clipper. And turn my headphones down. It's going to get loud. So another trick you could do is turn the soft clipper off and see how much you're going over 0, and this will kind of give you an idea of how much, you know, clipping or gain reduction you're going to be doing with the clipper, just so you can have a visual. So let's see. Say we shoot for about 3 dB. So we know we're going 3 dB into the soft clipper, right? Because it's going to keep us right under 0. So let's listen now. So to give you an idea. So with this now, I would take, I'm going to turn these down a tiny bit. I'd probably push this probably anywhere from 3 to 5 dB into the clipper, because I definitely want that kick to have a little bit of distortion on purpose, because I want it to sound punchy, but it just depends how much you want to push it and how you want your final beat to sound. I like my drums to be really loud, so it just kind of depends on your preference. But let's go over and get an LUFS meter and check our true peak and our overall LUFS. So let's go ahead and listen to this. Let me turn my speakers down, or my headphones, sorry, so I could actually not blow my ears out. Perfect. I want my true peak around 0.3, so that's perfect. So I have a true peak of about -0.3, which is exactly what I want, and then I'm around 11 to 12 LUFS, which is perfect. Could push it a little bit more, but I necessarily don't want to. I think it sounds really good, and the drums are hitting just how I want them to, especially that kick. All right, thank you guys so much for watching. If you did like this video, leave a thumbs up. You guys can follow me on all social medias at Lifestyle Did It. Make sure to hit my site, lifestyledidit.com, for everything else. Other than that, subscribe to your boy, push notifications. Thanks.